Hey, good morning. How's everybody? We're 9:36, so let's get rolling. Good to see everybody. I know a little lighter. Yeah, you can shut the door if you want. Nah, you can leave them open. A couple people were probably rolling in late. It was a little trafficy. For me, I've rolled in from Orlando, and it was really busy because something on eastbound was shut down, so therefore westbound had to all take a peek as we went by. So slowed everything down eventually. But if maybe people were wandering in a little bit. How are you, sir? Everybody good? Yeah? All right. Pretty sure, if I'm not shaking hands, so I'll just kind of wave at people. Say, oh, you got the crud? I said, no, I don't have the crud because I'm not shaking hands. All right? And I am washing my hands like every 7 seconds. So this is what you should be doing as well. So if you're not, then really don't shake my hand. All right? But if you're committed to a hand washer like I am, then you can, at least we'll nod at each other. How's that? All right? So we'll give each other a nod. Irony is that 220,000 people died last year from flu, and now we've had 837 people die worldwide from this, and stock market loses 4,000 points. But I don't know. I'm not saying I'm a conspiratorialist, but I'm just saying, you know what? Wash your hands, and we should all be fine. All right, it's pretty good. By the way, not a bad piece of advice anyway. I was talking to what's your first name again? Chris. He and I said we've been in way too many men's restrooms, all right, to see people walk out and said, oh my gosh, really, dude, you're not going to walk, so I'm like this trying to sneak open the door and get out, and all of a sudden I get up there and the guy's like, hey, what can I get you? I'm like, yeah, you were just in the restroom? I'll pass. I think I'm not going to buy anything now. All right, thank you very much. You're ready to make my egg McMuffin? I'll pass, all right. Have a good day. All right, enough of that. So let's move on. Got a loaded time today. Hope everybody's doing well. By the way, you guys are killing it. I know Maureen's not going to be here today. She was telling me because she's got some other things happening, but we are slammed file-wise. You guys are doing an excellent job. For the most part, getting your files in. You guys have transitioned into our new policies that we kicked in at the beginning of January. But, I always build in a pretty good amount of growth in our budget based upon our growth and expanded things, but we're even killing budget, right? So it's impressive. I just did February's numbers, and you guys are just bringing in files faster than almost we can process them. Except that we do get you a DA from a contract to a DA in less than 24 hours, which is, for those coming from Keller Williams, are shocked, knock me over with a feather. I was banging on my, what are the guys called there? MCAs, right? Okay, the market center accountants. That's really the reason they need 36% of your money, because they got 48 levels of people, right? It's like, gee, many Christmas. How many people do you need, all right, to still not get you a DA until 37 seconds before closing, right? So anyway, but yeah, so you're not banging on someone's door 37 seconds before closing and say, hey, where's my DA, right? I had my file in 37 days ago, and where's my DA? So, by the way, our compliance team does an excellent job. All right, they really, really do. And anytime that they're coming back at you with missing stuff or whatever, please know it's not them, it's me, right? It's they're just acting on my behest to make sure that we have we don't look for paper unnecessarily. We look for paper that we know has proven in the past to help us avoid having to speak with, where'd David go? Oh, there he is. Okay, having to speak with David Rankin, the attorney, later on down the road, right? So we're just hoping that having these pieces of paper will help avoid issues down the road. We don't like stuff just for the sake of stuff, but sometimes that stuff can be our savior at the time of need. So all good there. Jim, you got anything you want to add before we start making our rounds?
No, I'm good.
You good? All right. You finished your round of...
You already announced the office here.
Oh, I don't know if we did. You guys, so we don't have an exact date yet because they're putting carpet in, right? But I don't know if you guys have been on the Facebook pages, but we are opening a new Brandon office. Brandon location is opening up. Just got painted. Lease has been signed. As soon as the carpet goes in, signs going up. It's Brandon Riverview. We tried to get a little closer to Riverview if we couldn't find exactly what we're looking for. So it's a really good location. It's only 17 minutes for the South Tampa people. It's 17 minutes from the Greater Tampa Association of Realtors. You just take the Selman out. It runs right into, it's basically, Jim described it, where's the help?
Yeah, it's basically at the end of the Selmans, or really close Bergen, it's right there.
Yeah.
Literally right there when you exit.
Yeah.
Like down, you come to the first light, make a left, and we're right behind, just past the Costco there. So it's close to 75, I-4.
Selman, yeah.
301,
Yeah.
Brandon River, it's all right there. So, I mean, you can head in any direction from that office or get to that office from any direction. It's pretty.
And remember, all of our offices, just like our others, are going to be, the only one that we have people there Monday through Friday is the West Chase. Everything else is kind of what we call an unmanned office, right? Just there for your use. Will be two conference rooms, obviously a place where you can flop open, use a computer or two, and then use your wireless network all in one machine. Very similar. You're going to walk in. It's probably going to feel exactly the same. Our offices are designed to be utilitarian, meaning that once you download the print driver in one, you have the print driver for all, right? Which means that you're good to go when you walk in any of them. There will be no key card system because we've transitioned. Everybody should know that because maybe you're getting stuck out. We say, whoa, how come my key card doesn't work? Well, you need to read your emails, all right? Because we don't have a key card anymore, right? We have this new Viz pin system. It's all on your phone. So you have access on your phone. You just download, and then we'll add this office. We'll have that same system as well. Jim.
I will say that you'll learn this, but there's two entrances to this little complex.
Yeah.
One of them you'll come in on, but you'll leave through the other because you'll realize when you leave through the one you came in on, you can only make a right.
Uh-huh.
You can only make a right, and then there's no U-turn, and you got to go down really far.
All right.
And where you can't make a U-turn is literally across from the other exit. So if you go out the other one,
Yeah,
you
you
can
could.
actually go straight out.
Yeah.
You can go that way, but
Right.
it has a no U-turn sign. So
You have experience with
Yeah,
You'll
Jim.
learn.
Yeah.
a lot of going around.
All right.
Come on.
All right, perfect. So, and little lessons learned along the way. I've only been there one time myself, so Jim's been there more than I have. So, but we'll get it up once it's fully up and running. We'll let you know, and the Viz pin's in, so you can access it again. 24/7 access to our agents. You know, you can go use it all you desire. It's been a long sought after office location for many of our agents because we have a lot of agents that work from down there anyway. So that's big news. That'll be 5, I guess, in the Tampa Bay area. It'll kind of complete where we are a little bit. That's what we're envisioning for at least for the time being. Jim's promised me that we'll add 100 agents like that the minute I open the doors. So I promised that to my CFO, who I'm married to. All right, so Jim, I'm just going to turn it on you. If we don't see that kind of growth, then it's up to you. So it'll all be good. All right, like I said, we got a packed time today. So let's go through our group. Chris, we'll come back to you because you're going to speak. How's the Heckman group doing?
We're doing good.
Great.
I'm Amanda. I'm with the Heckman Mortgage Group. So y'all know rates are crazy low right now.
Crazy low.
Crazy low. But don't be like your competition and just rely on that for your pitch. If you don't have a good intake script, make sure you text me 813-749-7776 to get a script that actually is converting leads. So again, don't be like the rest of your competition and just relying on rates are low and that's going to convert them. Make sure you text us 813-749-7776 to get one that's actually converting leads.
And by the way, leads are great. Converted leads are better, right? Those of you in 100K, by the way, 100K meeting will be tomorrow. I think we're at 11 a.m. just because we're doing after the Orlando office meeting. It'll be on Zoom, 11 to 12:30. But we spent a long time on in session 2 on Zoom talking about, hey, Lee, step 1, get people in front of you. Step 2, people in front of you do nothing if you don't get to closing, right? Okay, a lead unconverted is a friendship, all right, okay, or whatever, not even that. So who cares, all right? We get paid on, I guess, unless things have changed since I sold, we get paid at closing. Is that still the case? Right?
Yes, because we get a DA.
Okay, that's right, exactly. That's right. You really get paid at closing with us. But yeah, but we don't get paid until we get to closing is what I'm saying, right? So with that in mind, make sure that you're converting the leads, right? Oh, I had 22 people through on my open house. Great. How many are you showing property to this week? Well, they signed in, and I'm following up with them, and I sent them notes, and I put a little, we put a little St. Patrick's Day shamrock on the note. Give us a flying flip. Get them in front of you and go show them houses and get them on contract, right? You know, I mean, come to 100K, all right? We'll teach you. And by the way, you don't want me as your accountability partner, All right, okay. All right, good deal.
Good morning, everyone. Tiffany Obenredder. My husband Ryan and I own State Insurance. We're an independent insurance agency. And I just want to give you guys a gentle reminder, if you didn't hear last month from Adam, we're entering into a hardening market in the insurance world. So what that means to you guys is stricter underwriting guidelines. 5 or so companies are going belly up in the next couple of weeks, which haven't been announced yet. So it's just going to be a little more challenging. So with that said, now's a better time than any time to have a relationship with an insurance agent. And we really encourage you to get your inspections right away. Send them to us as soon as you go under contract if possible, so we know what we're looking at. We have a relationship with a lot of carriers, like I said, so I don't want to say anything's impossible. I don't want to scare anybody, but the more information we have up front, we can advocate for your customers. And then also for your sellers, I highly recommend getting the inspections done for listing, maybe through like the pre-qual program, just to get everything out in the open, figure out what needs to be done so everything goes smoothly when you're under contract.
Love it. Good deal. Rates are going down, insurance rates are going up. All right, it all balances out in the end. All right, so here we go. Rose, how are you? Linda?
Linda with Florida Strategic
Sorry,
Insurance. It's
my
okay.
bad.
So I said at this flyer on the
Insurance to
table-
insurance.
Yes.
See?
Yes. I am agreeing with everything that she's saying. Dog breeds are a huge issue too with some of our carriers. We might give you guys the best rate once we go into all the personal information, collecting the type of dog breed you have. You might disqualify for that carrier altogether. So that, yeah, the top 10 are going to be on here. Now, this is a flyer that I can co-brand for you guys too, where my face is. I cut that out, put your face on there. I do have other templates for
What if your
floods.
face is better, though?
This agent here actually works on the file, so you want her.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So alongside with that, flood zone determination, new mapping, all of that, LOMAs, that's gonna be a different flyer, and then a sinkhole flyer too. So a lot of your out-of-state clients who are scared about everything under the sun, hurricane, flood, sinkholes, we can't help you with alligators, but the other things we can help you guys with. So be in touch with me if you guys need anything.
Awesome, great. Colleen, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Good. Colleen Biebel, Equity National Title. I wanted to let everybody know that we have hired a foreclosure attorney, Attorney David Miller. So if you have any of those, short sales, any questions, give us a call and we'll help you negotiate that.
Awesome, perfect.
How are you?
Doing well.
I won't touch you.
I'm going to allow you to.
Shannon Shum,
That's right.
Older Public Exchange Company. We're a nationwide qualified intermediary for 1031 exchanges, which happen to be very hot right now. I'm teaching a webinar this Wednesday, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. You can log in from your smartphone, your tablet, your PC. It's free. It's a half an hour. Just gives you a quick overview of 1031 exchanges. If you're not a social media person, you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, I can send you the link via email if you want to text me with your email address. My cell phone is 412-389-5606. Again, it's 412-389-5606. Say I don't want, just make sure you tell me, if you want to be on our marketing list too, because we can add you to that, and you'll get like monthly e-reports, educational information that you can share with customers.
1031 exchange is another bullet in your belt, all right? You should have all these technical skills at your disposal. Again, so that you're not the answer person, right? We don't need to be the source. We are the source of the source. Hey, you interested in 1031 exchange? Let me introduce you to my friend Janet, right? Hey, you got questions on which dog breeds, what, you know what I mean? Let me introduce you to my, you know what I mean? So we just got to not be the source, but be the source of the source, because we are not the expert, right? Hey, do you think am I subject to capital gains tax on this you know what? That's a great question. Let me introduce you to my friend, right? We are never going to be the answer person to that. I see it a lot on our Facebook pages. Hey, what should I tell my client? You should tell your client to seek the advice of a professional, is what you should tell your client, who's not you, right? Okay? But you can still maintain the relationship by introducing them to one of the gauntlet here, right? We got a gauntlet of professionals that can help. Your job is not to be that answer, but to get them to the people who have the answers. Fair enough? It's people understand that, right? But my clients really want me to have all the answers. Then find a new client, all right? I just want them to be, hey, look, they don't want that. They want the answers at their disposal, and you have the people at your disposal, all right? So it's part of build your team here. That's what you want to do. Speaking of team, Brian, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Doing
Good.
well. Did you get a haircut?
I did, all of them.
See, all of them? Not
Yeah,
just
most
a
of them,
hair,
yeah.
but all your hair? There you
All
go.
of them.
All right,
Got
perfect.
them all
Good deal.
cut. Yep, we're all set. So I'm Brian. I'm with Old Republic Home Warranty. Couple quick things. One is we have a new plan out, and I brought some hard copies for those people who still like paper like me. But usually the plan that's online is usually the most up to date because we always make changes in there. If we find something where people don't understand the coverage, we'll rewrite it so they do understand it because we're one of those companies that really want you to understand what you're paying for.
Makes sense.
So number one. Number two is, like Bob said, you guys work really hard to get to those closings, right? And then the main thing is to get those referrals. So this is kind of an interesting statistic. 68% of the time, there's going to be a major repair. So let me repeat that. 68% of the time, you're going to have a chance to lose that referral, right? If you have a warranty and we take care of that problem, you're still going to get the referral down the line because your customer's happy. So we keep your customers happy after the sale. Other than that, things are great.
Awesome. Good.
All right,
Good to
thanks.
see you. By the way, again, with the team in place, right? Remember, the goal is when we get to closing, right? Because that's how we get paid. Great. Okay, we got that. Step number one. Step number two, we want the closing day to be a happy day, right? And if at the end of it's not happy, if things are harried and people are not using the right lender, and next thing you know, they're scrambling around like literally 20 minutes after the closing time to find out what their final number is. All right, even though that's a TRID violation, it should have not. It doesn't matter, right? If it's just everything's falling apart, the walkthrough, if it doesn't go smoothly, you get blamed, right? Because you are the conductor of this. I'm not saying that you don't need to know how to play the oboe and the violin and the cello, which if you can do all that, by the way, let's talk to you because that's pretty impressive. But speaking of which, I took Joseph to go see Beethoven's. He only wrote one violin concerto. It was at TPAC, and he was like, "All right, I guess I'm supposed to go because you're telling me I'm." He was overwhelmed. It's the first time I've ever been to Now my younger son Samuel, he's the one who's adopted from Russia. All right, by the way, if you ever play Hangman with Samuel, all right, let me just tell you right now, even when he was like 4, just plan on Tchaikovsky being there. All right, okay? Because he loved that. He always get people hung up on it, like, what is this word? And he'd pull out Tchaikovsky, because no one knows how to spell it anyway, and certainly aren't expecting that from a 4-year-old. But, so Samuel's been into classical music for a long time. But, here's your, you know what I mean? You're conducting this orchestra, right? Okay, and you want to have the right people that are playing their parts, because when it all comes together and at the end it's smooth, that's when you get the referrals that Brian's talking about.
And call us, because for me, I like to actually, if you're making an offer, call me and tell me about the house. So let's ask for a warranty, and we're going to get the right warranty for you to ask for.
Absolutely. So utilize this, as resources. People say, "Oh, I'm going to use them because they have a team." Well, I have a team, right? You may be a single agent, but you have a team, right? And these are the team of people that are going to help us. By the way, here's a great analogy. We shared this in 100K. I used to use the analogy of, hey, who better to follow through a minefield than somebody who's been through the minefield, right? Well, that's an okay analogy, but a better one that one of our agents in Jacksonville actually used it and shared with me, I think is even better, is whitewater rafting. It's like, you get into whitewater rafting, you get on this river and you're looking at the map, on the thing, and it says, okay, here, this is a level 4, and we're going to hit the level 5, and that's a little nerve-wracking. Then we have a little break and all that. And so you're a little, apprehensive, right? And so you get in, you got the life jacket on, you got the helmet on, and all. Why do I need a helmet? Well, okay, I have to wear a helmet. So you're getting even more nervous now, right? And you're thinking, this is my first time down this river, and the dude or the gal in the back, it's the 5th time down that day. Right? Compare yourself, hey, you know what? I get that this can be a little nerve-wracking, right? I'm your whitewater rafting guide. All right? Let me help you navigate through this process called real estate transaction, right? And just, by the way, the contract is just like pushing off from the shore, okay? Because we've got a long way to go till we get to the closing, right? And there are rocks, and I know where that rock is, and I know that one, we got to stay to the left of that one. Because we get to the right of that rock, we're in big trouble, all right? And we're all probably going in the drink, right? So let's stay to the left, row hard, row hard, row hard, row hard, and we get to the left of the rock. And so that is a great analogy to sit there and say, hey, look, Because quite frankly, a minefield, once that mine's blown up, it's gone, right? Okay, whereas that rock is still there the next time we go through there. So it's a better analogy to use. But these people will help you guide people through that process, right? And just orchestrate that, design as we go down, all right? So, and by the way, none of them are paying me, or I'm not paid by them, or just the people that I trust to get in front of you, right, to allow you to speak. All right, Jerry.
First of all, as a former Nashvilleian,
Yeah.
my heart goes out to the people of
I know,
Nashville
there's
this
7.
morning.
Yeah, that was East Nashville. I know, I saw that. I did text my neighbor. Say, hey, look, is the house still standing?
And it did go through some part of downtown Nashville.
It did. And we're not far from downtown. So, but yeah, so think about the people in Nashville. I did get an alert on my phone called me last night at whatever, 12:30 in the morning, which is, it's like, what's that? And it was a national weather service.
Tornadoes never used to go through communities during that time of the night,
Right.
typically, but they do.
How rude.
Yeah.
I know. If they're going to do it, let's do it like at 3 p.m., all right? Come on. You're
Right.
going to wake me
When
up.
people are more prepared.
Right.
I'm Jerry Papa. I'm the broker owner of Gulfview Realty Property Management, located in the West Chase office of Future Home Realty. We pay referral fees. We promise to never steal your customer. We're a professional lease and property management company that services all of Tampa Bay, and we've been doing it for near 15 years. As some of the previous speakers were saying here today, there are many reasons to use our services. We work with lots of people, both of Future Home as well as other real estate professionals throughout Tampa Bay, with 1031 exchanges. And the reason we're so professional at working with 1031 exchanges is because many folks, including referrals from Future Home agents here that work with 1031 exchanges, need professionals to shepherd those properties through the process. And we like to be involved with those processes from the very beginning so that ultimately we make you shine, and ultimately the process works more effectively at how the monies are going to transfer through whatever resource and whatever element they want those funds to transfer for, whether it be for grandma or whether it be for some other entity that they want those monies to transfer to. And second of all, and very importantly also, is the whole dog process. Whether we're talking about vicious dog breeds or whether we're talking about just traditional dog breeds. When there's a dog involved or multiple dogs involved, we like to be involved in the process of property management from the very beginning, because there are so many reasons today in the world that we live in that dogs can be so restricted in so many different communities, condo associations, etc., that when we're not brought in and there's any kind of property management required, or maybe not even known to be required on your part as a real estate professional, and the property is already closed, there is a huge issue on our part when we have to be the bad guys and say, this property cannot be rented because this association, whether it be a typical homeowners association or condo association, has very high levels of restriction with regards to that pet. And it could be just a normal pet. And now this person who has spent $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 has their whole life now come crashing down on them, and they feel like, I just spent all this money and now I can't rent the property because, in our business, 80% of the people today have some sort of pet, and while we certainly can rent the property, it just takes a lot longer to rent that property, because the most common pet people have today, believe it or not, is I shouldn't say Pomeranian, it can be a small pet. And they don't think of that being a vicious pet, but that little pet can still bite somebody. A Chihuahua sometimes can be very vicious. So we have to
Napoleon complex.
It's the Napoleon complex.
They don't know how small
They don't. Right. So the point here is when you're working with someone who ultimately, whether they be a 1031 exchange or whatever they may be, if they are even thinking about renting the property, short-term, long-term, etc., whether it be us or any other lease and property management company, bring those professionals in and bring them in early into the process so they can help you and they can be a part of the situation. Last thing I want to say is the tip of the week is this is spring ahead. So remember, this weekend, you got to move the clocks ahead. And that makes me very happy because we start to get more daylight and it won't be getting dark so early. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Jerry. Perfect. David, we're going to come back to David because he's going to come up and share with us in a minute. Kevin, how are you, man?
I'm doing great.
Great.
I guess no bro hug.
No bro hug.
That makes me sad.
All right, bro nod.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Kevin Overstreet. I own 5 companies in the area that are all real estate related, and the one you know the best is Insured Title Agency. We are next door to your main office here in West Chase, and I recently found out that we're 17 minutes away from the Brandon location because we're in the GTAR building. And so you got the tip of the week from Jerry. The word of the day is from me, and it's proactive. Who wants to be more proactive, right? And what's stopping you from it? You're always reacting, right? So we've developed a program. We've been piloting it for a couple months, and the agents love it. The clients love it. And I'm going to pass out a flyer here, and it's very simply named the New Listing Service. And what it's for, what's crazy about real estate and what creates so many problems is you and your seller start working on the property day one. But nearly everyone who does everything for you starts when there's a contract. So we don't do that. We want the listing agreement. And we're going to do 4 things right then. It's all on the flyer. But one is obviously title. When there are title problems, we can cure them. When there is a problem that can't be cured, stop trying to sell that property because it's not going to sell for whatever reason. And that's very, very rare, but it's not rare to have issues that can be cleared. Municipal lien search. Why wait until there's a buyer to find out there's a permit or code problem and the buyer says, wait, what the heck is that? We find that out in the beginning, clear it, update it, buyer comes along, what happened? And the third one that's really exciting for your seller and you is the tax portability maximizer. So a very long story, but very often if your seller is selling a homestead property and buying a homestead property in Florida, they are losing thousands of dollars potentially every single year in tax by overpaying taxes on their new property. There's a tactic and a system to change that, and you can quite literally do the math, or we can do it for you. You can walk into a listing appointment and say, look, if you list with me, you're going to save $3,000 a year for the rest of your life at your new house. Or you could list with that big team that's soliciting you, which all that means is the guy's going to close you at the listing appointment, and you'll never see him again. He's going to have lesser agents doing everything else for you. And then the fourth thing is fraud, shine, state enrollment for the buyer, and that's another really long story that I'll tell later. But and I do apologize, I have to jet after this to get to another appointment. But I'll pass these out, and these are semi-explanatory. If you need more explanations, we have more literature. But very, very simple. No cost to you, no additional cost to your seller, and why are all of your people waiting until there's a contract when you're 2 or 3 months into a transaction to start working for you? We want to work for you as soon as you start working for you.
Awesome. Great. Good deal. Once again, okay, wise advice by all these people, okay? Again, remember, utilize these people as your team that can come up and help you. And I like Kevin's word, the proactivity of it, right? Is that you want to know these problems on the front side. Why not get them solved early if they're going to have to be solved? These things are not going to go away, right? So it's kind of like, credit issues. It's like, hey, look, we got to get this resolved one way or another. Let's get it done. So let's start working on it now. David, you got a minute? How about we'll give you 7, 8, 10. How many minutes do you need?
You tell me.
So we are actually very blessed to have David. David comes in and helps us out. David owns American Patriot Title. So we have different title companies here. There's plenty of business for all of these people. You need to pick and choose whoever you feel is best for you. David owns American Patriot Title. He also is an attorney that helps us out on other issues that come about, and is extremely knowledgeable. You said he and I usually dialogue the day before the office meetings. Hey, is there anything you want to bring up? If we've had some major blow-ups, hey, yeah, make sure we talk about. But in this case, no major blow-ups, so that we haven't covered so far. So David had a hot topic you wanted to bring up, right?
That's right.
All right, tell us all about it.
That's right. Just a couple, by way of introduction, I also was the attorney for the local association, the Greater Tampa Realtors, for 16 years. and also have been involved in over 300 Florida Real Estate Commission cases, DBPR Division of Real Estate. So if you run afoul, or you get a complaint, or you have a question about, gee, how would the Florida Real Estate Commission weigh in on this? I've got a little bit of experience there. And the title company that I own is American Patriot Title. We're located at Fletcher and Dale Mabry. So the question, whenever I give any presentation like this, you know, probate. All right, people wonder probate. Okay, this is all very interesting. And I talk about the Florida Constitution and protection of creditors and that kind of thing. And I see people in the audience. I did a survey one time that 62% of the people in the audience, their lips are moving. They're all saying, 62% of the audience is saying, but David, when do I get my check? All right? So, keeping with that theme, we're going to give you a little bit of information, and eventually, if you stay awake toward the end, you will hear exactly when you can get your check and how you can get your check sooner. Okay, so probate, very quickly. We have the dividing line is it homestead? Was it their primary residence prior to the time of their death? If it is, you know, you get these calls from, gee, my mother, you know, dad passed away many years ago, mom died, and we, the adult children, want to list this property. And you're thinking, well, great opportunity here. But in the next 5 minutes, you'll figure out, well, there's some challenges. All right, you're going to anticipate issues. One is the only person that can sign a deed, the only person that can sign a listing agreement, the only person that can sign a contract is dead. All right, got a little problem here. So when you're talking to people about the listing, excuse me,
If I'm dead.
if I'm dead, okay.
If they hold a pen, I move the paper, we'll get it signed.
There you go. There you go.
I'm just teasing, guys, relax.
There's
Out there.
there's a theme here that we all have to be creative. I mean, there's a line that, and we won't go there. But anyway, so the question is, when you have adult children saying we would like to list the property, realize when these adult children sign, you want to get all of them to sign because you want all of them on board. You don't want the brother in, the contrary brother in Seattle, who never agrees with anything, to be a thorn in your side later on. So get the problems resolved up front, all right? But realize all the while that until you go to court, until you get an order from the court, you don't have a legally enforceable listing agreement, all right? And I'm not saying don't get one. Go ahead and have them sign and have them assent, have them agree. But realize that if somebody comes along and they want to use another agent, that you're in jeopardy there. You gotta keep these people happy until they get a probate attorney and they get, okay. Now the advantage of the predicament we have, it's not as much of a predicament, if that's their principal place of residence before they die. Now, I realize some people go to a nursing home for a short period of time, but that was the only home that they ever lived in was the property that they want to sell, or the kids want to sell. All right, in that case, and once again, along with our theme of 62% of you are saying, but David, when do I get my check? All right, so if it's a homestead property, principal place of residence, then a probate attorney can apply to the court for an order determining homestead. All right? In Pasco County, it takes a little longer. It could be 3 to 4 weeks. In Hillsborough County, it can be as short as 2.5 weeks. But don't over promise because you don't know whether that judge is going to be there that week or that kind of problem. So, but just be aware, and when you talk to your client, say, hey, I want to let you know, it's my understanding that if this was her principal place of residence, then we can apply for an order. We've got to get this in front of a probate attorney, but we have the opportunity to get authority from the court to sell, and sell as soon as we had a contract because it was their homestead. And if you want to get a little more technical, the reason it can be sold is because it's not subject to the claims of creditors. All right, that's the key. Because it was homestead, and in Florida, the legislature many years ago said, hey, we're going to have people moving to Florida, and we don't want to do anything to disincentivize people moving to the state of Florida. So what we're going to do is there's no limit, doesn't matter how many millions of dollars that home is worth, because it was their primary residence, that is not subject to the claims of creditors in Florida. So you can, if the problem is, if it's an investment property, then it is subject to the claims of creditors, and it's a 90-day, once you get in touch with a probate attorney, and the probate attorney files, it gives notification, then from that period, it is 90 days before the court can even think about entering an order that might authorize the sale of that property. Now, a good probate attorney could take this tack, and that would be that, hey, judge, we've got a contract, we want to sell the property, we want to transform this brick and mortar to cash. They get the approval of all the beneficiaries, they can petition the court, and get an order from the court authorizing the sale of that property. All right, that's a lot of information in a short period of time, but when you see that the person in whose name the property is titled is no longer with us, then understand that, okay, there's some complexities here. Distinguish yourself from other agents. Don't practice law, but just emphasize to these folks that, hey, we have a complicating factor. You know, we know what to do. We need to get you to a probate attorney and get these pleadings filed so that we can do what we do, and that is market the property, get you a buyer, and get this property sold for you. Now, any questions anybody has here? Yes?
Once it goes through probate, can the executor sign as the person who sells the property?
Well, it depends on what stage, because if there's an order dispersing, then the beneficiaries are the legal owners of the property. If it's before that order is entered, then the court will authorize the executor of the estate to sign. And then from a title perspective, what happens is we get a certified copy of that order authorizing that individual, the executor, to execute the deed and all related closing documents. But it's just a timing, how far along in the probate it's gone. But you know, obviously from a title perspective, that is one of the first things that we coordinate with the probate attorney, and that is, hey, this is, you know, we don't have a contract yet, so we have a little bit of time, or, hey, we've got a contract, we need to close by such and such a date, can you petition the court to get the authority? And the notice has to go to the beneficiaries, and it's a process. But just know that when the person who owns the property is dead, it's not insurmountable, but you need to get yourself to a probate attorney who can get things done and let your clients know that, you know, it's a complicating factor, but we know how to get these things done. All right? So, question?
Yes, on the buyer side, what does the buyer's agent should be asking or looking for?
Well, all right, so you have a buyer, and you want to sign a contract, but you realize that the person who owns the property is deceased, all right? Well, then you talk to the seller agent, and you say, okay, do we have a probate attorney? Has the probate process been commenced? If so, give me a copy. Because what you want, and you don't want, happy, everything's good. You want happy, everything's good, and a copy of the pleadings.
Okay.
All right? Or you look online and you see what's been filed. Because if nothing's been filed, then nothing is started, and these timeframes have not yet begun to run.
Okay.
Right. So what you want to do, you're not practicing law, but you're just have them verify, and then you can speak to the attorney or their staff. I found that if there's a paralegal in the office, the paralegal is a lot more accessible and usually knows about as much as the attorney does. All right? So, now I'm not sure if we're running afoul.
Yeah, we got probably a couple minutes left.
Just a short question.
Sure.
To,
Well, I'll be the judge of that, whether it's a
okay.
short question. All right.
Let me go slow and make
Okay,
it long.
please. Mhm.
When you say you should get yourself, I'm assuming you mean that the client
should get themselves.
The client needs to retain
Correct.
an attorney.
Because I'm not
Exactly.
doing anything.
You're not a party, right, right. You are the encourager.
Right.
All right, right.
Just wanted to be certain.
That's right, exactly. Yes. Question, uh-huh.
We're having a conversation with the owner,
Uh-huh.
who's still alive, and the heirs about an enhanced life estate.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that save a lot of trouble? I mean, it saved me like 2 transactions that it would have been a real nightmare.
That is true. All right, so let me give you the short version of okay, a life estate. What happens is that the owner, because the person has to be alive, you know, if they were already dead, you missed your opportunity. But if the person is alive, and what they're trying to accomplish is that, hey, as soon as I pass away, I want, by operation of law, no probate, happens automatically. Once I pass away, then the property title passes to a person, 2 people, you know, whoever is designated. All right? And that's basically the generally described a life estate deed, and the person has all the benefits that you can file for homestead exemption, and it's yours to do what you want. Little variations, some of them allow that person to sell, mortgage, do everything. Other versions limit that. But yes, that is a tool that can be used so that when the person dies, then the property, title of the property passes automatically, no probate needed. So that's a tool. Once again, you can, probably the best way, you can't practice law, you can't explain all this to them, but you can say, hey, you're going to have your options are going to be limited here. And of course it's always sensitive explaining, well, once your parent dies, then, probate. But that is a tool that a probate or estate planning attorney has, and it's just a deed, so, it's not very expensive at all.
Just be careful if it's an 87-year-old multimillionaire and the life estate's going to the 24-year-old nurse. Right? Yeah, just be careful to suggest that. Exactly. Right, exactly. David, thank you. Here's the other thing, real quick, while I got David. In these situations, always reverse engineer. All right, this is a very common question you guys ask me. Hey, Bob, I just got a lead on and the client passed away. I said, great. Who needs to sign the listing agreement? Say, okay, let's go to the title company. Say, based upon where we are today, who would need, if we were sitting at the closing, who would sign the deed? And the title company says, well, I need this, this, and this. Okay, well, you need to get that over to the title company so they can review this, this, and this. And after review, title company calls back and says, hey, where they are now, there are 7 heirs, and all 7 would have to sign the deed. All right? That tells me that as of today, that's the same 7 that will have to sign the contract, every one of them, and the same 7 that will have to sign the listing agreement. Right? Now, if their will or whatever assigns one of those heirs as the executor or something, and the title company says, based upon that, this person is allowed to sign for all 7, great, then that's okay, right? But up until that point, you have to go, and I always start, hey, look, pretend we're sitting at the closing table, who's signing the deed? Then that's the same people need to sign the contracts, and the same people or person that needs to sign the listing agreement, so that we are 100%, because David said, if you wait till after you're under contract, you're probably not really under contract. Right? If the wrong person has signed the contract, there is no contract. It's an invalid contract because it's not the legitimate person that's designed or has to sign to close the deal didn't even start the deal correctly. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right. If you have any questions, you always call David. All right. If you have any questions, call me, and then I'll tell you to call David. All right. And we'll do it that way. Fair enough? Good deal. Good to see you. All right. Perfect. Good deal. All right. Chris, you ready, man? Yes, sir. All right. No PowerPoint. So we got... when people reach out to us all the time, you guys have great ideas, by the way. Hey, this is a great vendor, you ought to come speak. And we, kind of vet them a little bit, and a lot of times we do. One of the reasons I was intrigued, because when we saw Chris's stuff, credit unions, a different animal, right? They have some portfolio products, some different avenues. Here in a bit, I'm going to go through some Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac news here that we need to be aware of. So I'll try and make it as exciting as possible. But in the short term, we got some possibilities of some non-Fannie, non-Freddie type where your people don't necessarily fit into the tight constraints that some of these programs do, then Chris might have some options for you. So now this does not project your voice. It just makes it easier to hear because we have this all recorded. And it's
Okay.
also people on the internet watching right now as we speak.
All right, thank you.
Come here.
Good morning. All right, thanks. Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Chris Raya. I'm from Suncoast Credit Union. Excuse me, I don't want to trip over anything. A little bit of background about myself. I was in new home sales for the last 14 years. I've been in mortgage for about a year now. When I sat in the model in the new home sales center, we always had I worked for 4 different builders, and we always had our lenders, the ones that we had to use. But I would always have other lenders walk in the door. Naturally, they were looking for business. And I would always say to them, I have my own lender. What can you do differently that my lender cannot do? And that was the only way that we were allowed to use them anyway. Probably much like you folks do, you probably have your own go-to lenders. But what I'm here to do today is just talk about a couple of unique products that we have that might help fill a void or might help get a customer under contract. For family reasons, I got out of new home sales because I had to work every weekend. I have 2 little children. And now I can coach my son's football team. I don't miss my daughter's soccer games anymore. I don't miss a practice. So I knew that I wanted to go into mortgage because when I was selling new homes, I always prided myself in when somebody came in and my lender said no, I always took the other lender's information so I knew who might be able to do this deal. Okay, this gentleman or this woman has certain circumstances. I know a different lender that can do it. So I always like the mortgage side. And one day when I was up in Epperson, in the Lagoon community up in Wesley Chapel, I had a young sheriff come in from Hernando County. And he said, I've got my own lender. And I said, okay. I said, tell me what they can do that my lender can't do. And he went into the loan program. And I said, nah, you heard her wrong. No way. And he said, no, that's what she told me. I said, get her on the phone. And she got on the phone and she said the same thing that he said. And I said, ma'am, I've been doing this for 14 years. Why haven't I heard of you before, and why haven't I heard of this program? And she said, well, it's a fairly new program. We just started it, and it's really taken off. So we weren't allowed to technically talk about that because we had our own lender that could do it. They couldn't do that program necessarily, but they could still finance him. But this program was better. It was much better for these folks. So what I would do is when I had other folks in law enforcement come in, nurses, teachers, and I'll get to the loan, I would say, this is going to fall on the floor, and on your way out, you're picking it up, and you can call this person, and then we can figure something out. So that's what we did, because I believe in trying to help everybody as best I can. So when it came time to change careers, I started to speak to lenders, and naturally there's a lot of them out there. And a lot of them were saying the same things, except when I spoke to the folks at Suncoast. So we sent 4 other deals to this woman at Suncoast, great lady, but she never came out, she never said thank you. So I said to myself, you know what, I can do that. So I applied at Suncoast, and I was fortunate enough, and I've joined their team. So what I'm here to do today is talk about 2 of the portfolio loans, 2 of the special loans that we've got at Suncoast that's unique to the credit union. The first is, I know you've got the flyers there, the first is the Heroes loan. It's for police, fire, nurses, EMTs, and anybody in education. Some people say, oh, it's a teacher's loan. Well, it's not just a teacher's loan. As long as somebody is paid by the school or the university, so you could be the janitor, you could be the principal, you could be an admin. As long as they draw a check from the school or university, you're good to go. That loan, naturally the most popular is a 30-year fixed. That loan is 5% down with no PMI. There's no origination fee, and we're a credit union, so we're not charged intangible tax, so we don't pass it on to customers, so there's no intangible tax on the sale either. This loan is saving folks on origination fees anywhere from $500 to $1,500 up front. Intangible tax is 0.002% of the sale, if memory serves me correctly. So it's saving folks a lot of money up front, and no PMI. My 30-year rate dropped yesterday from 3.375 to 3.25%. So really good rates at the moment. The other loan that I've got is it's our first-time buyer loan, and it's a true first-time buyer loan. It's a 10-1 ARM. So folks like myself, when I bought my first home, young guy, just wanted to get into my first home, I knew that within the next 3 to 5 years, my job would progress, my income would progress, hopefully I'd meet somebody. Fortunately, that happened. But it was a way for me to get into my first home. And with the 10-1 ARM, 3% down, no PMI, no intangible tax, an origination fee of $500. It's a killer loan. The rate's been consistently at 3% for the past almost 2 months, 60 days roughly. So it's a great way. It is not a down payment assistance loan. Some people ask me if it's down payment assistance eligible. It is not. 2% of that 3% can be gift funds, and then I can also have up to 3% contributed toward closing costs too. So it is a great loan. It is a great way for folks to get in, first-time buyer.
For those that haven't been in the business since 1993, like me, you understand what a 10-1 ARM is.
Yep.
10-1 fixed for 10 years, then becomes a 1-year adjustable after that. It's
Correct.
amortized over 30, right? So it's amortized like a 30-year mortgage. Fixed for 10, designed specifically for what Chris has described. Somebody
Right.
who's probably not going to be, because who knows what rates are going to be 10 years from now anyway, right? But somebody that's designed to, hey, look, I know I have the stability of knowing that I'm fixed for 10 years, and then that's why they can offer a lower rate. And you obviously qualify at the starting rate, at the 10-year rate.
Yes, at 3%. The other nice thing about the credit union is not risk-based pricing. People ask me, what's the credit score for the first-time buyer loan? They don't like us talking about specific credit scores. Let's save it to say I can go down to the lower 600s with extenuating circumstances. And let's say I can get you in at a 620 or a 630, or somebody has an 840. We don't do risk-based pricing, so it's the same 3% across the board. Same with the Heroes loan. The Heroes loan in order.
Understand what a portfolio loan is?
Right.
It means they're lending their own money. Right?
Correct.
They're not going to resell this thing, right? So
Yep.
they are the rule maker. So they can make exceptions when they
Correct.
need to,
Yep.
or if they feel like it makes sense for them.
Yeah, we're not packaging them, we're not selling them, so we kind of more or less make the rules on them, which is nice. Heroes Loan has been an absolute success. I was approved by the chief of police in Tampa. I've got 19 speaking engagements over these next 3 weeks. I'm about halfway through them. I'm speaking at all the roll calls for TPD. I've got my flyers circulating through Pasco County Fire, Palm Harbor Fire, the local Florida Highway Patrol Troop. The other nice thing with the Heroes Loan, it's not just purchase, it's also refinance. So I'm helping a lot of police and FHP troopers right now. So basically what I'm telling them is if you've got at least 5% equity, but you're paying PMI and your rate's over 4, call me. I'm saving these guys hundreds of dollars per month. So it's really a great opportunity. Again, that's police, fire, nurses, EMTs, and anybody in education. Other than that, that's about it.
That's, quality. So again,
Yeah.
you get more bullets for your belt, right?
Exactly.
And even if let's say you refer Chris a refi deal, right? I guarantee you help somebody save hundreds of dollars a month, right? The next time that they're pulling over somebody who's in a rental car, and they say, oh, you're visiting here, and you know what? Hey, are you thinking about moving? You know what? I just refied, and the person who introduced that to me, I know a great realtor. Seriously, it's the way it works, right? That it's the generosity generations, what we teach in our 100K, right? About just you go do the next right thing. When you help people, it comes back to you. We say you give value in a garden hose, and it comes roaring back at you in a fire hose, right? It really does. And so if you just have people and help them solve life problems, right? Whether it be Chris or any one of our other gauntlet of vendors over there, right? It's just the way things work, right? And this is just a great solution, and having portfolio products available is critical, right? Because for the non-conforming type of loan, right? Non-conforming doesn't need to mean, hey, I started my business yesterday, and I need somebody that doesn't need bank statements or tax returns or anything else. Wait, I forgot.
I forgot, I'm going to do a drawing. If you'd put your card in, and just pass it down the table if you would. I've got one of these cool umbrellas that you, if you're in the car, you can stick it out and open it up upside down so you don't get wet type of thing. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Well, one last thing too, Bob. Well, you gotta shake it upside down. One last point is they created my position about 1.5 years ago. One of the knocks on the credit union was I can't get anybody after 5 o'clock. I can't get anybody on the weekends. I call the mortgage call center. I'm trying to find out where my loan or my client's loan is. We're having a hard time. I don't work in a branch. I work from home. So one of the nice things about it is I answer my phone till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I answer my phone on the weekends. If you call,
Except when you're not coaching your son.
except if I'm out on the field, I'm not going to take a ball in the head for you. I'm sorry. No, but if I don't answer, leave me a message. I'll usually call you back within the hour. So because if you go right now through the credit union, through one of the branches, or through the call center, pre-qualifications are taking 5 to 7 business days because we're so inundated because rates are so good right now. The retail side, we call ourselves the retail mortgage loan origination team. There are 7 of us. We've got our own process, and I've got my own underwriters. So if I need something done quickly and the file is fairly clean, I can issue my own pre-qual letter. If it has a little fuzz on it, then I might need to go to the underwriter to have them give their thumbs up. But the moral of the story is to call me because things can get done a little bit quicker. I'm your one point of contact throughout the process. You can just call me, hey, Chris, where's the loan at? And I can tell you, has the appraisal been ordered yet? Yeah, here we go. So it's very easy.
And all your contact information is on the flyer?
On the flyer, and also handed out some cards too.
Perfect. You guys are sticking your cards. Where's that basket? You guys are fast.
Yeah.
I online asked, is that first-time home buyer allowed if they haven't owned their previous home in the last 5 years?
Great question. It's 3 years. First time or haven't owned in 3 years.
And then also, what is the minimum loan size for the first-time home buyer loan?
Great question. First time home.
See, I told you people.
No, that's great. First time buyer loan limit is 250K. So at 3%, you're looking at a purchase price of roughly 257, give or take.
So maximum 250.
Correct, maximum 250. Yep. Okay. And the max on the Heroes is 350. So if you're only putting 5% down, you're looking at roughly 365 purchase price. The Heroes was designed so you don't need to put just 5% down. You can do 10%, 15%. It's designed so if you don't have 20%, you're not paying PMI and you're still getting a great rate. And we've stripped most of the fees out of it, so you're just paying the taxes on the sale, just for the Heroes, really. So yeah.
Perfect.
Chris, what about retired military?
I wish.
Okay.
I've asked about retired people because we get a lot of retired NYPD.
Yeah.
One of the guys you have is retired NYPD, Jim Hurley,
Yeah.
a friend of mine. So
Not yet.
not yet, unfortunately. Yeah.
All right, here's our winner. Speaking of Patty reading.
There we go.
There she is.
Ooh.
You get the umbrellas right behind.
I wish I could get that.
There you go.
There's your basket.
Thank you. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
And you guys have Chris's information, anything you need. Again, more bullets for your belt, more resources available for you. Thanks. Awesome. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. All right, perfect. Good deal. That's awesome. Again, no need to be an expert in this stuff, right? Just know where to direct them. However, you need to be knowledgeable in people that you may have passed by. Say, oh, you know what? I don't think that's going to fit, or whatever they may be. You know, in 100K we teach. You try and get. Hey, look, are we working together or not? I mean, first initial contact, because I don't know if you guys have realized this yet. It took me. Some of you guys are a little slower learners than I was. It took me like my second day in real estate to realize that if I didn't have an appointment with them when they left my open house, I'm never seeing them again. You guys are still holding on to this novel thing that they're gonna. I don't know. They never called me back. You think, right? Blocking my calls. You think, right? Okay. You guys are relying on that. Boy, I thought that was going to be my first 3 sales with these people. All right. And I said, when's the last time you talked to them? Well, it's been like 4.5 months now. It's like, yeah, they're gone. All right. So, so quit pretending, right? And so, but I would have answers for these people. And I'd know the products well enough to know whether or not I thought, hey, they could fit into one of these programs or not. And if not, then we, in 100K, we have that novel term, we call them crock pot buyers, right? We put them in the slow cooker. Hey, that's great. Oh, you're 540. Okay, we'll put you over here. All right? And they go in the crock pot, and we come back and let them stew for a little bit. We come back in 2.5 months and say, up to 560. All right, keep working, keep cooking, right? All right, and you just kind of step away, and then eventually they might pop out. However, all right, I need a commission check, in a microwave, not in a crock pot, right? So I need something that's ready to eat sooner than that. So I'm going to rely on my meals to be something that I can eat now. All right, let's take it back to, again, going back to my Viking days, my hunter-killer days, right? That now, hey, it's game on, right? It's time to go pillage and eat my whatever. Come on now. That's what you guys are doing. Don't give me this, I'm in the real estate for the love of it. If I didn't have to, even if I didn't get paid, I'd still do this. Yeah, whatever. All right, okay, yeah. If the only thing I had was the joy on the buyer's face when they get their first set of keys, yeah, whatever, okay? You're the same people that are like flying to get your commission check in there before at 1:58. Whoa! All right? I wrote checks on this 3 days ago. I've been hoping that this check would come through. All right, here we go. I understand. I'm not one of these brokers who bought a real estate company because it was fun. Right? I was you, right? I get it. I understand where you're coming from. So, all right. So thanks, Chris. That's great information. Keep his information along with everybody else's. So here's the deal. This is not real exciting, but I need to make you aware of this because it's very important. We're on the mortgage process side. One of the things I've become involved in as I've become more involved in the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors is I'm on a committee that meets physically twice a year, but we meet more often, virtually throughout because there's people from around the country. And it is what we call GSC reform. GSC, people don't understand it. I'm going to explain it to you. It's something, though, that's coming down the pike. Nothing's going to happen in 2020 because it's an election year and no one's going to touch this, right? But come 2021, it's certainly on the horizon, and it makes a huge difference. And we need to be aware, because you guys understand that housing's a big deal. I don't know if you know that, right? But it really is. I mean, when I say a big deal, it's a big deal to everything, right? There's a reason why the business channels pay attention to housing starts and why it's a huge indicator, right, of either things coming up or things going down, all these types of things, because so much derives from housing. Right? It's an indicator of a lot of things. What is the consumer feeling about, the health of the economy overall? Are they feeling like it's time, hey, I'm okay to buy, or am I going to hunker down, right? All these different things are the key indicators, and it revolves around housing. Well, obviously, you guys, something happened in 2008. You guys remember 2008, 2009? Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, I was around, and there were some issues. And so what happened, there were some severe things that occurred. And so now we are still living in those 12 years later, 11, 12 years later, we're still here. And there's some things that eventually are going to have to come out of what happened back then. All right, so I'm doing this. I'm going to introduce it to you so that you're going to hear from me a bit, and you're going to hear from the National Association of Realtors in the months and year coming, because this stuff is coming down the pike, and it's very important. A lot of times you're like, oh, yeah, I just hope that works out okay, right? We need to be bending the ears. So when you get a chance to get in front of even, people say, well, my local guy or gal? Yeah, your local guy, because the local guys and gals end up being our Congress people, right? Yeah, they're just a state senator now. Well, they started as a state senator, and now they're my congressman, right? And then that's the ladder that these people choose to follow. So we need to pay attention. All right, so here's an update on Fannie and Freddie Mac. By the way, they're called GSEs, all right? But half of our mortgages depend on Fannie and Freddie, all right? Half of the mortgages out there right now depend on Fannie and Freddie. And Fannie and Freddie have been in receivership for, if you guys went to real estate school, I hope you did, right, since you're agents of mine, right? They said that, hey, Fannie and Freddie, they introduced them, they said they are quasi-governmental agencies, right, because they're not, even though they sound like they're federally owned, they're really not. Well, they are now. All right, as of 2008, they've been in receivership, meaning that the government has been, they bought them out, they bailed them out. By the way, we're going to see the size of the bailout. as much as we like to complain about, hey, we bailed a bank, Bank of America got a bailout, which trust me, I was right there along with you, all right? Why did Goldman Sachs get a bailout, right? Well, we bailed Fannie and Freddie out like 12 times as great as we did any Goldman Sachs, all right? So with that in mind, we need to pay attention to what's going on here, all right? So they're called GSEs, government-sponsored enterprise. It's basically it's an overall arching umbrella term for Fannie and Freddie, okay? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they don't do mortgages, right? It was created by Congress in 1938 to facilitate a national housing finance market. The goal was to bring stability to the housing market back in 1938, right? We were still coming out of the Depression at that time. And so they were instituted back then to try and facilitate some type of stability and to make it worthwhile for banks to do business even in rural America, right? So it's kind of not just where only the coasts were going to get the benefit, right? So great concepts, okay? GSEs don't make loans. We should know that, right? They bundle mortgages because people that the Heckman Group deal with, right? They will sell that mortgage if they are either directly, immediately, right? Like if they're a mortgage broker, then all they're doing is really doing a loan for Chase, right? But Chase is still going to bundle it and sell it to Fannie or Freddie a majority of the time, all right? And so they'll bundle these mortgages, they'll add some type of an insurance policy, and then they'll sell these around the world. If you don't know what happened in 2008, 2009, go watch the movie The Big Short, all right? And see what happened. Now some of us live that, right? Remember, I was there, right? And when the guy who was mowing my lawn bought his 7th investment property, I said, we're screwed, all right? Okay, this is the musical chairs, and it's about to stop, right? And there aren't going to be enough seats left at the table, right? Because literally, you guys remember those times, people were lining up to get a lottery ticket to buy a home this weekend in the new subdivision, right? That was coming online, right? Because I got one of the tickets, so I get to buy this weekend. Oh, sorry, you're next weekend? Well, guess what? Prices are going to be $10,000 more next weekend than they were this weekend, right? And people are buying houses just thinking, hey, look, by the time it's done 7 months from now, it's going to go up $80,000. I'm going to just make money just by flipping it, right? And I'm flipping a brand new home. Great idea until the music stops, right? There's some people not left with chairs. So that being said, there were some things that went wrong, and we'll talk about that, okay? And where things have been changed and what NAR's suggested answer is to all of this, all right? But stuff we need to pay attention to. Why are they important? Well, because they bundle these things, all right, and there's not one individual, it's like spreading like our insurance people, right? We spread the risk out amongst a greater group of people, right? Therefore, we can lower the rates for all, okay? So that's what essentially is done. It allows for lower rates and wider access to lending, even in a crisis. So they're going to be there with the governmental backing. They're going to be there even in a crisis, which is critical because if it was left only to the free market, which I'm a free market guy, but if it was left only to the free markets are great when markets are good, but free markets don't like bad markets, right? So they just tend to get out. And if they're out, then now it tends to spiral, right? So it's a fine line to walk, and I get it, but it's interesting to watch, right? So even in a crisis, even in a disaster, we want them to have access to mortgage money, okay? Because of GSE funding, 30-year fixed-rate mortgages are available and homes can be purchased with a down payment under 20%. I don't know if anybody came from a different country and bought a home outside of the U.S.? Anybody? Okay. Different mortgage game here, correct? Okay, I mean, from, okay, Scotland? 5% down, no PMI in Scotland? No. Yeah, exactly, not happening, right? Okay, it's a totally different, people come here and that's why they love our mortgage game so much is because they're like, what? I don't have to put 50% down, right? I don't have to, you know what I mean? I know they've gotten better, I'm sure, as of late, but it's certainly not this first time home. Yeah, mortgage, yeah.
For a house, you have to buy cash.
Right.
In Venezuela.
Okay, yeah. And how much cash? You know, when it takes it takes a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a banana. Can you imagine what it takes like to buy a house, right? Okay, so under 20%. So it allows for a wider, right, swath of people to be able to purchase, right? So it's critical, all right? But can you imagine this lower thing? Without GSE funding, low down payment loans dry up and 30-year fixed rate mortgages could disappear, right? Because a 30-year mortgage is a risk for the lender, flat out, right? I'm guaranteeing you. That's why one of my biggest not ploys, but my biggest, that's what I'm looking for, scripts that I would say to a first-time home buyer is like, you know what though? Even in, let's say that if I just showed you only that your monthly payment's going to be what you're paying currently in rent, right? They say, yeah, well, why wouldn't I just rent? Because now I'm putting down payment and everything. Well, if you're looking for total flexibility, I get it. But here's the reality, right? When's the last time you signed a 30-year lease? All right, is your landlord going to guarantee you that they're not going to raise your rent for 30 years? No, right? Other than taxes and insurance, the lender is. The lender is saying, I'm willing to sign a 30-year lease with you, right, to say that your monthly payment on a fixed-rate mortgage is not going to change. So there is a big difference in owning and buying. Renting and versus buying to do it. But if there wasn't a governmental backing, banks would have a hard time, all right, justifying to their investors the risk involved with guaranteeing a certain price for 30 years. Right? Because their cost of money is going to change. All right? So, well, this is a great slide that they use. It says their goal is that financing for everywhere, small towns or large cities, coastal or central. It says no matter which Springfield you call home. It's I love that map. All right? Because there's a Springfield, looks like up in, I guess, in the panhandle of Florida, there's a Springfield. Looks like there's one in North Carolina. I don't know where that is, up in the Northeast. What is that, Connecticut? Massachusetts. All right. Oh, that makes sense. I've heard of that. All right. Obviously, one in Illinois, all these different places, California, Oregon. Okay, so no matter which Springfield you call home, we want there to be access to a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right? And so that's the goal of having some type of entities out there to help protect that. And those are at risk, quite frankly, right now, all right? It's just because of where we are and where we've come from. So the mission of Fannie and Freddie, affordable housing for all credit-worthy U.S. borrowers. Well, here's what happened. As we started to develop this, back in 1940, home ownership rate was at 43.6%. As we evolved and introduced the 30-year, the GSEs and the 30-year fixed-rate mortgages, and as they became more and more popular, we rose to 1960 to having 61.9% home ownership, which is a huge jump, right? Because it's also a 61.9% of a ever-growing population. We've been a growing population, so it's a bigger percentage of a larger pie, right? And so with that in mind, it's risen all the way up to a high of 66.2% in 2000. We've actually dropped from there because of the housing crisis to now we're about 64.2%, all right, of the population owns their own home now. But that's because of low down payment, government-assisted, backed mortgage programs that enable lenders to you've heard these called the secondary mortgage market, correct, Fannie and Freddie? That's because they bundle them, all right? The banks have lent the money. Now they get it back to re-lend again, right? Because someone has bought that mortgage from them. And what happened in The Big Short, you go watch that movie, is they were selling these things, bundling them up, calling them all A paper. When they put A paper around the outside and put a bunch of crap in the middle, right, and wrapped them all with A, it's, hey, these are all A, right? And then if they watch it, the movie does a good job because they call it a Jenga game. You start to pull out this, oh, that one went bad, and the whole thing kind of crumbles. So even all that occurs, right? So it's just a good way for us to do it. Now, I'm just trying to share with you the importance of Fannie and Freddie, all right? They're critical to keeping things, because quite frankly, we don't have, Suncoast doesn't have enough money, all right, to lend to all of the housing market that's out there, all right? It's just not there. And if we relied solely on Suncoast, quite frankly, right, at the end of the day, they're going to say, we've got to answer to our investors, right? And it's just not making sense right now for us to lend money. This program is going to go away just because it is what it is, right? So we want that steady flow that, I don't know what happened there, all right? Wrong button push. So what happened? It was all working well, right? Well, how'd they mess up? Well, they started dabbling their Fannie and Freddie, started stepping outside their lane. Remember, I think we talked last time, you know, that movie Hitch, where when he's teaching Kevin Bacon how to, or Kevin, what's his name? Kevin James, right, how to dance. And he goes going all Q-tip, and he says, no. Yeah, right? Where Will Smith says, you stay right here, all right? All right? That's what we're doing with Fannie and Freddie again, all right? You stay right here, all right? They were getting all Q-tippy on us, thinking, hey, we got this extra money, we're lending money, everything's great, things are well. Go watch YouTube, Fannie Mae CEO 2007, right? When they're being called to task in front of Congress, the CEO of Fannie Mae is on record, and they said, you know, your ratios are a little out of whack here. You're not having the reserves that we require and everything else. And the Fannie Mae CEO in 2007, we understand, Congresswoman, but we here at Fannie Mae virtually believe that U.S. housing market is bulletproof. Okay, 2007. Flash forward 6 months, dude's out of a job, you know, and should be in jail, right? Because of what they did, knowingly violating their charter, right? But they started dabbling in insuring risky loans. They invested profits in very risky investments. They were getting outside their lane, right? And they didn't set enough aside to handle losses. It's kind of like insurance companies that are going out of business, right? That you're referencing. They did probably the very same thing. Started doing some, hey, we'll give you great premiums. Well, premiums are great, but you better be in a company that's willing to pay you when something goes wrong, right? And there needs to be enough money there to do it. It was also facilitated by a weak regulator and a lobby machine that cowed Congress. So they talked their way through this thing, right? So it was bad news all the way around 2008 and 2009, if those of you are around, okay? Well, hopefully we've learned. Biggest bailout, this is the slide I was talking about, right? JP Morgan got $25 billion. Wells got $25 billion. Goldman Sachs got $10 billion. Fannie and Freddie, $189 billion. All right? Okay, that's our money that we had to pour into them to shore this thing up. All right? Because of that, we said, hey, look, we're going to own you. We owe it to the American taxpayer. By the way, if we think Congress, when they were grilling these people, right, were the very same ones enabling it as well, all right? They're the first to point fingers, but never at themselves, right? So they were complicit in all this. Well, here's what happened. Now we're in conservatorship, which basically means that we've owned them for it was only designed to be for like 2 or 3 years, let's get us out of this mess. Well, here we are, 11 or 12 years later, and we're still in conservatorship. There has been a call with the recent administration in particular to get us out of conservatorship. Fannie and Freddie need to do it. Now, the administration is calling for an even wider swath of, hey, let's bring in everybody. Let's open it up to everybody. A free market's a good thing. And I'm telling you, I'm a free market guy. However, right, I also understand the free market enough to know that a free market is good when it's good, but they're going to step away when it gets bad. And we need to know that there's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, even if it gets bad. By the way, do you guys understand it's going to get bad? Yeah. Okay, I mean, it has to. Okay. Study history, right? Okay, economies are cyclical. Thank you very much, right? They're ups and downs. The tide goes in. Gary, what's his name? Keller, right? All right, when he wrote the book Shift, right? Right? My answer to that, I read the book, I was like, I'll clean it up because it's being recorded. No duh, right? Okay. He was like, hey, the economy's it's gonna change. Yeah, okay, and the tide will go out, and the sun will come up tomorrow and will set tomorrow, right? I mean, tell me something I don't know, right? The answer is, and so we need a stable mortgage market even when things, start to shift, all right? And they will, okay? It's okay, all right? So that's the reason. Now, all right, so we want to, in 2008 and 2009, FHFA, it's not FHA, okay? The Federal Housing Finance something. It's basically, they're the overseers of Fannie and Freddie, basically, at this point right now. They're the ones that put in the TRID changes that we have. The 3-day mandatory review of the closing document. All those changes that came about in 2008-2009 came from FHFA, right? They have done a pretty good job of overseeing and cleaning up Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie are profitable again now. Now, they're profitable because things are good, right? But they've been setting aside proper money. They've been properly, I don't want to use the word regulated because that's a bad word, and it is, right? Over-regulation kills business, right? But they've been properly, they've instituted a proper amount of oversight, right? To make sure that they're staying in their lane, okay? That they're right here where they need to be, making loans to the people they need to be making loans to, not making loans when, hey, look, oh, but really, you know what? They're really good people. They have a 540 credit score. Yeah, well, Fannie and Freddie says that's outside our lane. Go talk to Suncoast, see if they'll do it. All right? Seriously. All right? That's what Fannie and Freddie are designed to be, is that middle of the road, down payment, here we go. You know, they've got some skin in the game. Let's make it happen. All right? Not doing, trust me, you know things, should beware. We start to see no income verification, start to see statement only, start to see 112% of loan to value, right? All those are bad signs, all right? It's going to get us right back down to Big Short time, all right? Big Short Part 2, all right? The sequel, it's coming, all right? Okay, private label securities all disappear. So here's what happens, is we want to go from an implicit guarantee to an explicit guarantee. Private investors can't compete with a government that says, hey, look, we're going to guarantee this loan, right? It's just they can't. So that's why, but in order to do so, they've got to do it in a reasonable, logical fashion, not making risky loans, all right? And so that's where we, when I say we, National Association of Realtors, is keeping an eye on all of this to make sure that we have a seat at the table when we decide how this comes out, all right? By the way, just a quick aside, I, for years, donated my $25 to RPAC. 25, all right? I am now an RPAC major investor, part of the President's Circle, and the reason is because I have seen firsthand the power they wield, they being us, we wield in DC. We are the largest trade organization in the United States. You understand that, okay? AFL-CIO, what's the other one? The Teamsters, nothing on us. No, don't tell that to the Teamsters because they tend to wield pipe wrenches, all right, okay? But the issue is that we have more clout in D.C. than anybody else out there. Trust me, I've been to D.C. and seen the doors that come swinging open as soon as you say we're with NAR, right? We got a really good system in place to work the system. Whether you believe in the system or not, I'm not a system guy, but if it is what it is, when in Rome, all right, you better have a seat at the table. We can sit there and say, on principle, I'm going to sit this one out. And you find out that you've got no more 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right? Well, how's that principle working for you, right? So we've got to be paying attention to this stuff, all right? Okay? So what's happened? Now they've cleaned things up, all right? Got new directors, no investments outside their mission, only quality mortgages. They're setting money aside, okay? And they're still setting more and more money aside. They've already paid the government back the 7 billion. That money's been paid back, and they're starting to set aside their own reserves. They're staying in their lane. Now, again, you staying in your lane only that's today, all right? We need people keeping an eye on them to make sure they're staying in their lane, all right? So, but when they do, it works for all of us. Now, why change? If it's working so well right now, why are we getting out of conservatorship? Well, okay, it's never designed to be permanent. It was never designed to be a government-owned thing. And they're going to have to raise capital. In order to do that, they're going to have to get outside of conservatorship and have an explicit guarantee. The strong rules are temporary, but those need to be made permanent. And these changes that are not set in stone need to be locked in because we've been kind of running almost on a continuing resolution, if you will. Right? And we need to lock some things in to get them more solidified because, I don't know if you know, but investors like stability, right? They don't necessarily they don't care, they just want to know, right? Investors, they just don't like things out of the norm, okay? And so it can go down, but if the down is expected, that's okay. It's already been baked into the investment, right? They know that. What we don't like is major changes from what we expected, right? And so what we know now is what we can't expect. Over the last 11, 12 years, we can figure out what needs to happen, all right? So why do they want it out? Because they don't want the taxpayers on the complete hook. They want some private investment, right? And they still, but however, we still want to protect the 30-year mortgage, right? So there's that fine balance. So here's what's going to happen, all right? How do we protect the taxpayers? We've been working on different things. The administration has come out with basically saying we want to privatize the thing. Government out, privatize the whole thing. Bring in as many investors as possible. A free market will drive rates down, and that's all true. Okay, free markets have proven to drive everything down. The cost of anything goes down when I have more providers in the game. Okay? What happens though is it's good when it's good and bad when it's bad. That if things went bad, then they'd pull right back out, pull right back out, right? Those private investors. So we need to have some things. So here's what NAR is promoting. All right? Instead of having lots of guarantors, which is basically this free market mass, influx of everybody coming in, is they're going what they call in the utility model. Utility model is anybody with Withlacoochee Electric? Okay, Withlacoochee Electric is a co-op, right? Where basically there are private investors who are actually utilizing the thing, right? And this is NAR's vision of that, is a utility model where you still have private investment, yet with explicit guarantee that's going to be protected by the federal government, as well as oversight, where we're making sure that there's somebody from the federal government that's chartered to make sure that Fannie and Freddie stay in their lane. Okay, they're not getting outside of that. So rather than this massive, hey, wild, wild west free market thing only, a kind of a quasi meld of the two, and that's what NAR's promoting. So if you ever get in front of somebody, right? I had a chance just last week to get in front of Marco Rubio. We were down in Miami. I just said, hey, Marco, dude, you got to pay attention. He goes, yeah, I got a white paper on it. I said, yeah, you need to read it, all right? Because this is important. I know nothing's happened this year, but you need to pay attention to what's happening because we need you as a realtor. We need you on our side. Now, he was at a realtor convention, so he was like really paying attention, right? Because we wield a big hammer. And so with that in mind, he was listening. But any chance you get to hear this, and there will be calls to action coming out, all right? You guys just happen to work with a company that has a broker that's knee-deep in this stuff right now, just because that's how much I believe how important it is, all right? So it's the best of both worlds, private expertise and efficiency, innovation, yet a healthy dose of oversight, all right? Skin in the game, investors' money, because we got private money coming in. Right? It's not only the government money that's there, all right? It's focusing on the public goals because we like home ownership, all right? The markets like home ownership. It's good for the markets. Lower costs and broad access for all, no matter which Springfield you call home, right? And national securitization, that basically there's that explicit government guarantee overriding the whole thing, which helps keep rates low, right? Without that, rates would not be as low as they would be, okay? So here's take what's working today, put private equity ahead of taxpayer liability, so it's putting more emphasis on the private investors would still have their skin in the game, would be held liable if things went wrong instead of only the taxpayers, right? Provide enhanced FHFA regulatory oversight, ensure competition on service, not on standards, right? So they got to get better at service, but we're not going to say, hey, look, let's get real creative and start doing these real exotic loans again, right? They're going to stay in their lane, and we're going to be there in a crisis, no matter if things went bad, okay? So NAR has hired, by the way, they've got this really smart lady who I've met. She has studied public policy in the conventional financing arena. She's a PhD and teaches at Wharton, all right, so she's a really smart lady that has 20 years of being involved in this, and NAR has brought her, and she's our consultant, if you will, on this. So she's helped create it. So we are at the table. I just wanted to make sure you're aware of it, so we're ready to pay attention when the time comes. Fair enough? Any questions I can answer for you on this? Okay? I know it's a lot to take in. I'm going to shoot a quick video on this because that's how much, imagine a world, right, where the 30-year mortgage was not in existence for us, right? Or that all of a sudden now we needed 20% down, okay, was the only option available on the table, right? The numbers of transactions would severely be depressed, right? Because the biggest hurdle for most, besides, is credit and downstroke, right? All right, and so Fannie and Freddie, by compiling and bundling all these mortgages and spreading the risk across a broad swath, enables people to do it for lower down payment and lower credit scores, right? And by the way, we're real involved, just as an aside, part of my other thing with this committee is they're revamping, just so you guys are aware, the entire credit scoring analysis. They're going to be moving away from a FICO. I mean, all Fannie and Freddie are moving away from a FICO.
Can you give us a couple of minutes? We just need to move the piano.
Sure, absolutely. Go for it. That's all right. No problem. You going to play it while you move it? You going to play it? Come on now.
Kitchen crew are gonna play piano.
All right. Good deal. We're wrapping up anyway. So any questions you have on that? All right, cool. Quick last reminders. Don't forget that we have 100 Book Club is today at noon, by the way. If you guys have if you haven't joined us, you can catch up. We just started our latest book. All right. And 100K is tomorrow from 11 to 12:30. Keep an eye on FHR calendars out there for everything else, and have a great day. All right. See you. All right. All right, no problem. That's all right. We're done.